Hi, I'm Jacob,
I'm Michael.
and we are
Chillin' in the library.
where we chill back, maybe drink some cool water, and we talk about a specific album of choice. How you doing today, Michael?
A little tired, but I think it's a good day for discussing some music.
And the music we're going to be discussing today is no other than Denzel Curry's Taboo, spelled in a quirky fashion with a 1 and a 3 instead of a B.
Yeah.
Some of the fun little things we're going to get into today. And up to this point, Denzel Curry made a name for himself, making these fast-talking, big dog, energetic bangers. He made a big name out of this. Of course, he had that Ultimate song, which became a huge meme, apparently. I think it's a good song, Michael. Have you heard this? I am the one who don't need a gun, who get respect off the street.
I didn't know
That's
that
a
was
song,
him.
and apparently everyone memed on it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good song, though.
I think it's a good song too, actually.
But he made like lots of these big banger songs like that with him. He made a whole album on it called Imperial, just full of banger after banger after banger of him just spitting flames left and right. There's a lot of songs on this album that I would say fit into the Imperial camp. Yet Denzel Curry, who if you watch like any interview, especially during the Taboo part of his lifetime, he's a man obsessed with switching it up, to use the title of one of the songs of this album. He always wants to, he always talks about, evolving yourself. One of his favorite shows, as you could maybe tell from a certain song on this album, is Dragon Ball Z.
Sure.
And on Dragon Ball Z, Goku is always trying to improve himself, always trying, no one think like Super Saiyan, like that's crazy. No one does that. But Goku goes beyond that and works on it, and he actually does it. And everyone's like, what? And he's like a symbol that you can be your best self. You know what I mean? So Denzel Curry has taken these sort of themes to heart, it feels like. He always talks about this. Like he had a Montreality interview where he goes really in depth about all these cartoons and not talking about how much he likes it. Like he doesn't just plainly state the things he likes. Like, oh, I like this, I like this.
He just talks about it a lot.
He talks about it. Like he was talking about and there's 10 things I hate, or 10. No, that was totally wrong. His GQ interview where he talked about the things Denzel Curry can't live without. He was like, oh, I had this manga of One Punch Man, and he was just went into detail about everything he liked about One Punch Man. He's like, oh, it's funny because the main character is unbeatable. So it puts a lot of kind of attention on the characters surrounding One Punch Man. So it's not really about him; it's about the characters supporting him, and it's really funny. So he really seems to just take all these things to heart, and he's always about making himself, switching himself up, changing, adapting, making new sounds, putting himself into uncomfortable situations and making them comfortable. And I think Taboo was the album where he wanted to do it in full strife, man. He just wanted to jump into the pool in the deep end. He wanted to try out as many styles as he could. He wanted to tackle as many different topics as he could, as many song topics as he could. It's called Taboo, which is a very not generic, but a very broad title. You know what I mean? And he's tackling this broad kind of concept of the taboos that we have in our society. Song by song, just trying to bring light to some ideas and just trying to get a broad kind of generalized look at his kind of view in society. And I don't know if you know this, but the album was released in 3 different acts.
Right.
I did not listen to it when it was coming out or anything, so I don't know how that would have affected the experience. But I definitely think you can hear the changes between acts. Some more than others, but I feel like when you go into what Denzel talks about and how he approaches it within each song, you definitely can kind of see these distinct areas of Denzel's life and how he saw the world and how he saw these topics and whatnot. And I'm very excited to, kind of go into the narrative that kind of forms in this album. It's not a super strong one, not it's just kind of these loose narrative ties that kind of continue throughout the album and kind of show Denzel switching perspectives on different topics. He said he made Dark first, which is the last section of the album, because he was in a really kind of emotional, kind of dark, kind of tortured place when he made it. He made Gray kind of when he wanted to just kind of plainly state what he thinks the what he sees going on. He wants to cut through kind of some of the BS and just kind of state, this is how I see the world. This is how things are. This is not me emotionally coloring these ideas. This is just how things are. And then Light is him kind of imagining himself. Well, he said he was in a much, more healthy kind of place when he made that part of the album. He describes Light as like him starting to imagine maybe a better future for himself. And whether you kind of take that from face value, I think that this is not like a narrative of future to past. I think this is very much like how I see it, kind of like a narrative from a past to future, a chronological kind of continuation going from one topic to the other. So I think we'll get into all of that. I'll clarify what I mean by that. But I don't just to sum up, I don't think this is like we're starting off with Denzel Curry now and we're ending where Denzel Curry started. I think we're like kind of following a more structured kind of narrative of what the world and how these taboos can affect people. What do you think, Michael?
Very interesting. I can't wait to get into it and hear you explain all of these kind of ideas.
Yeah. What do you think about the sound of it? Because
it does change up.
It does switch up a lot.
Yeah, it does.
It does have a very memorable sound to it. Like
overall, I like the sound. It was very interesting. It was enjoyable. I think I like the sound because, like you said, like there are different like acts to it or whatever. And I think I like the first and third acts more than the second.
Yeah.
Because like the second act, at least like the latter half of it was a lot like more mellow and kind of more melodic, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of those songs just didn't really do much for me.
Yeah. When I first started listening, because I've listened to it just like generally like for a little bit. This is my first time going in and just trying to dissect the meat of what the heck Denzel Curry's doing. Originally, I would say that the Dark, which is the last four songs, was my favorite part because I love the kind of dark, kind of aggressive places he goes there. But then going through this time, I would say that I don't know which my favorite songs are anymore. Honestly, my opinions on each song has been so volatile through listening to it right now. I might listen to a song I loved right now, Michael Kelly, in like a minute, and I may be like, honestly, it doesn't not really doing that much. And I found that Gray, personally, was where I was getting the most fulfillment. I was getting the most just lyrically, kind of what Denzel was doing with his with what he was rapping about and how he was like kind of progressing like some of these themes on Act 1. And in that light, Act 3 kind of seemed like a disappointment, not necessarily sound-wise, but just thematic-wise. And you could tell because he did make it backwards. I do think it follows like a linear progression, but the fact that he made it backwards, I don't know if he was thinking about he was like he started his journey on Taboo with the end. So therefore, I don't know when he went to Gray, I don't know if he knew, I'm trying to, which could go either way, light could be the end or dark could be the end. But because he didn't know yet, he didn't know the structure. He was playing around like dark's gonna be at the beginning, dark's gonna be at the end. No, wait, Gray was always gonna be in the middle, but he didn't know which was gonna be the end. So like dark kind of feels like it could either be a beginning or an end, thematically. So I feel like, parts of it were disappointing. Parts of it I grew more in love with. And parts of it I was just love struck. I was starstruck. So we'll get on that right now. How about that?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, first track, getting into Taboo. What did you think, Michael?
I like this song. I think it might be one of my favorites on the album.
Really?
If I'm
I
being
could see
honest.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like just like a really good, I don't know, like the beat I think is really cool. It reminds me of I don't know if you've heard of the game called Chrono Trigger.
I know of it.
You
I
know of
have
it.
never played it or anything.
Okay. The beat reminds me of a song from that called
Yeah.
The Secret of the Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you want to look that up later, but
Might just have to.
we might. I'm getting vibes of that from this song, and maybe that's why I like it so much. But I don't know, it just has like this kind of otherworldly feeling to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like moody and atmospheric.
Yeah, and there's all these like kind of like washed out like kind of guitar or like keyboards in the background. It's a really pretty intro to the album, and if anyone is like any familiar with Denzel Curry really whatsoever, he got famous with these like big bangers where he's like rapping almost like on top of himself. That's what I love about him when he gets like really amped like that. It sounds like he's always like kind of falling on top of each other with each word. He's like each word just falling into the next one. Like he's giving it all. He's rapping so fast, but he's giving it all like so much of a performance. So to start this album with this kind of smooth kind of, automatically shows you that we're gonna get like a different side, at least for a bit, of Denzel here. So I think that was a purposeful choice, and we can we have to remember that this is not only the start of the album, this is also the start of Act 1.
Right.
So we start out with this the opening line, "Welcome to the darker side, taboo," which I think is a great way to welcome us into this world that we're going to be spending 13 tracks with.
Sure.
Which I kind of interpret as like this all hot taboo is basically like these topics people can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk about that because that's not polite to talk about.
That's not gonna sell an album.
So I think what he's saying, like the darker side taboo, is this whole idea that the lighter side taboo is the fact that we don't have to talk about all these hard problems, because who would want to talk about sexual assault? They're uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They make us challenge things within ourselves. They make us challenge like the norms that we accept in the world and whatnot. So I think that's like the lighter side of taboo, and I'm doing air quotes. The darker side taboo is the fact that you get people like Denzel Curry is talking about on the song, and there's a lot of thought that it's about it's kind of him talking to himself, but not real like so Denzel Curry, there's the lyric in here where he says like I know you were molested since the age of 5, where he's like talking about this woman who he calls taboo, and Denzel Curry was also molested as a young person. Similarly, I don't know if it was at 5, but at like a similar age. So I think the idea that it's him talking to himself is like true, but I don't think it's like he's talking to someone else who's basically him, because like she has like all these like same experiences or not, right. And by talking to her, he's like talking to himself because he knows like the sort of experiences she's been through. You know what I mean? Like it's like this kind of symbiotic empathy where he's like almost becoming her, feeling her pain with her because he understands it himself. So I think when he says like the darker side taboo, it's just like darker side of the people that get affected by the fact that no one's talking. Mm-hmm. No one can talk about it, or when you do, there's like the stigma, and people kind of get freaked out by it, or like the whole idea of victim blaming and whatnot. So I think that's what he means by the darker side taboo, is like he's talking about himself and like people like the woman in the song that are negatively affected by the fact that these things are taboos. And I think to go back all the way back to Ye, when he was talking about thought about killing myself, mm-hmm. That's actively trying to break these mental health taboos, and just openly say like people aren't like helped by the fact that we're not talking about this. They're actively harmed because now they're like ostracized and being like weird if they have these problems. Mm-hmm. They're not the norm. They're not conforming. Like so they shouldn't be taboos because they're so common that like how could it possibly stay a taboo? So I think he's starting it off like pretty generally. He's talking about like sexual assault in the song specifically, but I think just calling it by taboo. This whole idea that we are entering into this world where we are going to maybe look at some of these things that are affecting people that you may not want to talk about. the things that are actually going on. So, and yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing is he raps. This is the first song where he raps from like a different perspective. Denzel's very open about the different characters he plays on different songs. You know, he plays him on Imperial. He was ultimate Denzel.
Okay.
On his first album, he introduced Denny Cascade, which is the character he's rapping as in this song, because you hear at the beginning of the song they're saying Denny Cascade,
Yeah.
who is like kind of like this more kind of gentle, sweeter side of Denzel.
Okay.
They're all Denzel, but they're different parts of his personality.
Right.
So this is kind of showing the, Denzel the caretaker, kind of taking, like, similarly to Corey Taylor, in Iowa, taking all these people under his wing as beloved cysts. That's all I really have to say.
Yeah. So I was gonna bring up, because like you mentioned, how it could be like him talking to himself, and you thought it wasn't really about that. But I was kind of looking at it from that perspective, where, like I just thought of this now while you were saying what you were saying, because there is this woman Taboo that he's talking about, and if you look at it from like the perspective of him talking to himself, and him being Taboo, like him saying "Welcome to the darker side of Taboo" could be like, welcome to like the darker parts of my mind, and like this is what I'm gonna be getting into in this album. But yeah, like it kind of felt to me like this song was kind of like an unrequited love song to himself, where he's like kind of, because of his past experiences and the trauma he's been through and all that he finds it difficult to love himself, maybe. Yeah, just the line like, "You loving me is forbidden, loving you back is a crime." Like that's the feeling I got from it, that like he's just having difficulty loving himself or something.
Okay, let's cut right to the chase, Michael. Song number 2, Black Balloons. What do you think of this?
This is a cool song. It's got a nice groove to it. I wrote on my notes, groovy beat, catchy hook.
There's that nice like snare hi-hat little thing going on.
Yeah.
I love like the kind of how that like gives it like a nice little like dance groove to it.
It's got a nice bounce to it. Yeah.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of, Michael Kelly.
Really?
You do know what you're talking about.
I guess so.
This song used to be a black sheep on the album for me.
Really?
Yeah, like I liked it. Not a black balloon, a black sheep.
A black sheep.
Something that I was like, I love this album. I like basically every song, but like that one song, I'm always like, I never really messed with it too hard. And then I watched the music video, Michael Kelly, and everything I ever thought about the song switched around, and it has now become not like one of my favorites musically, but just one of my favorites on the album for what it does for the track list. Because if you listen to like the recorded version on the album, it's just kind of like a upbeat kind of pop banger about kind of black balloons is like a symbol they use on the album for like, it's a symbol for just the physicalization of every like bad kind of like thing in your body, all the emotional venom, and all like the trauma you might experience is just more air that goes into the balloon, right? So it's like this big balloon that grows inside of you, and then once you pop it, it's like you feel released. You're like, whew. So the whole hook on this is they're like, Denzel Curry's like begging to let the black balloons float over him, leave him. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this upbeat song about finding your happiness, finding your point in life. There's a lot of good lyrics on here where he says like suicide's not a mission, where he talks about he has a generally optimistic point of view going forward, and they want the black balloons to float by him. I love that. This doesn't really fit into that camp, but I love that one lyric where he says rapers turn to landscapers when they use hose, because not only is it kind of funny, but also I love how that kind of tackles another taboo of like how women are perceived in the country or not. Like when rapers use like let's say like a normal woman or whatever, they would be a raper. But when they like, you know, do like, you know, a hoe, you know, that works. You know, that makes sense. That's like kind of he's tackling the victim blaming that may happen, you know, to like a rape victim. Like, oh, you're a hoe. Like, how do you not expect it? You know, like dressing like that or something. Yeah. So I think, you know, with even lyrics like that, we see that he's like kind of getting into some of those taboos a little bit. But not really as like the sole focus of a song, but just kind of like sprinkling some commentary in when he can. But overall, I think it's just like a nice kind of inspirational banger, let's call it.
All right.
But then you watch the music video. And my whole perception on the whole album, the whole like what he was doing, what this album was about, just changed. It flopped. It flip-flopped.
He switched it up.
He switched it up. Because I love when music videos do this, and I think they're the best types of music videos where the song is about one thing, and it is about it. This is an inspirational banger. But when you watch like the music video, it gives like a new context to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, so the song that was once an instrumental banger is now this kind of sinister, false victory anthem. Where, if this is like a song in the point of the album of, because Denzel, you know, Curry plays these characters. I think on this song, and I think on this song he starts a narrative that concludes in Clout Cobain of this character of the character joining this label. I don't know what you would call him. I don't know if he does have a name for him. He never really names him, but I believe he's creating a character that we're gonna like kind of follow through some songs, or Denzel's gonna comment on songs like Perks, where we have this like, you know, young talented rapper from wherever, and he's you know been through a lot of like troubles in his past, you know, poverty, mental health, but things are finally looking up. A nice new label's gonna come and give him, you know, support him, and he's gonna be a big famous star now. It's like things are looking up. My black balloons are gonna float by me finally. And I think from this music video, we get some of the most scathing commentary I've seen recently about how labels treat their artists.
For sure.
Because, and we get, I won't like say everything I have to say about this, because I think I have much more to say when we get to Clout Cobain.
Okay.
But we see how this character, you know, he portrays as like signing a deal with the devil, but he's brought in, you know, to this nice lifestyle. He's rapping about how everything is great. The black balloons are flying by him. And we see like that the clown that we see on the album cover, we see that his face is actually, the white on his face is the cocaine. Yeah. And the lipstick on him, or the makeup on him, is the lipstick of a woman. So like the labels like provide him, you know, like these, you know, the drugs, they provide him the woman, and turn him basically into, by the end of the music video, into this enjailed, trapped artist who's now just any other artist on the label, who's now going to be like kind of paraded about as like a circus freak for the album. So I just think, I watched a video where Denzel Curry was talking about, it was on Genius, where he talked about how labels don't provide any mental health support to their artists are hired as contractors to a studio, so they don't get to a label, so they don't get any health benefits or anything. So he was making an argument that labels should front the bill on mental health care for their artists, because the artists are, one, the people bringing in all the money. Two, they're the people on tour. They're the people who have to worry about their next album. There's a lot of pressures on an artist to always be cranking stuff out and always be working. And the amount of artists that we have lost because of like addiction recently, like he mentions a lot of it throughout the album, like Lil Peep, Mac Miller, Juice WRLD, who was a big one for me personally. If you see how like this kind of trend that's happening, you see that the labels don't see they may see them as people, but they're money. They're money bags.
Yeah, they're expendable.
They're the people bringing in the money. So the only there's not really this like, you know, there's not really this priority to take care of them as people, as long as they're pumping out the music and bringing in the cash. But that's just not even working for them because look at what happens. They eventually just die and they're not making any money anymore. So I think Denzel Curry is really making the argument here that this label maybe not is necessarily making these people be addicted or anything, but they are definitely not helping them.
Right.
They are definitely not discouraging it. In fact, they might be encouraging it with the whole fact that these are heavy trends that get clicks, get plays.
Yeah.
And if the artist is playing into those trends and making the money and getting people to look at their newest like 25 song album of just pumped out tracks, then they don't really have any investment in it. So I think Denzel Curry has some scathing stuff to say in this song, in the music video specifically. Yeah. And I think it really sets up this character that is going to, who starts off in Act 1, in light, kind of like, in a more seeing the future of like this bright future that he might have for himself. I think we sort of see that decline throughout the album.
Yeah.
Of this character going from beautifully optimistic to like another casualty.
Yeah, I thought the music video was really cool. I just saw it for the first time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of good imagery in it. Like when it starts out, he's in like that big building, skyscraper or whatever. You can see like the landscape is burning behind him.
Yeah,
it's
like hell imagery. Making a deal with the devil.
Yeah, definitely. And then once he signs it, the wall opens up, and then it's like this big palace, like in a desert. Mm-hmm. And to me, that seems like, it's like this image of, like he's in the desert, and like he's probably lost, and he's just seeing like a mirage of this, like this great dream, and they're like, oh, we're gonna provide you with like all this money, and you can make your music. It's gonna be great, like look how awesome this is. But then it just becomes like, he's in that jail cell because he's just like an entertainer who's gonna go out and do what they tell him to do so he can bring in money, not necessarily like what he wants to do. Like these are themes that he kind of brings up later where he's like I'm gonna write what I want to write, I don't care what you want to hear. Just like getting a lot of themes of like anti-music industry and like not necessarily anti-drug use, but like he mentions like perks and Xanax and all that, and like just doing it for clout. Yeah, like he's definitely against that, which he mentions in other songs, and like you kind of see in this video.
All right, Michael. Song 3, Cash Maniac.
Now, before we get into Cash Maniac,
yes,
I was thinking about something about black balloons.
Please.
If I could interpolate that into this discussion.
Please do.
Because like in that first scene of the music video, when he's like in the building and you can see like the landscape, there's like the Hollywood Hills, and it says like taboo
on it,
and the sign, And I was just thinking like maybe taboo, because I think I read that like Denzel Curry said that taboo could be like whatever you want it to be, really. So I'm gonna go with that to fit this kind of idea I had, where taboo could be like a meaning or like a metaphor for like Hollywood or the music industry, and it's like kind of like this taboo of like how they're treating like the music industry is treating their artists poorly and all that, and then with that whole character of like this clown, going back to the first song, Taboo, like the darker side of Taboo could be like the darker side of the music industry, like what you don't see of like how these artists are being treated and all that.
That plays like remarkably well, because I don't know if it's like how they're being treated. It's like all like, Hollywood or the music industry is often glamorized.
Right.
It's like the rock star lifestyle. And I think this whole album is really kind of getting into the dark sides of that lifestyle.
Yeah,
that doesn't
it's not
really
all that
exist.
It seems to
that
be.
doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
It's not like we just see the best parts of it. We just see like almost a kind of fake version of it for the fans.
Yeah.
For the fans that are paying money to get close to, you know, a rock star, you know, get close to danger, but not actually experience it. So I think that plays remarkably well because there's a lot of like songs that maybe oddly fit on here, where he like he starts off by talking about some serious taboos, but then like I was thinking later in the song or later in the album, like some of those things just kind of drop off, and I was thinking maybe it's just because different acts, you know, it's kind of just like playing with ideas in this album, but it really is like, you know, focused laser tight for a lot of it on this dark side of the music industry, and just like that rock star persona that people are used to and whatnot, that people don't talk about.
Yeah.
All right, but maybe we should hop over to Cash Maniac.
I think that's track. A good idea. I guess I'll start. You know, this song's giving me like some kind of 80s vibes, I think.
I would say so.
You know, you got that 808 cowbell in there. You got these kind of, I don't know, 80s sounding synths in the back.
Yeah, you have this like very synth poppy sound.
Yeah. Very cool kind of feeling going on there.
And that like bass line at the beginning, like
yeah. I don't know, the song is just really kind of him saying like, hey, look at all this money I have. Look at all this fame. Like, look how successful I am.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, like just seeing that music video for Black Balloons is making this album make a lot more sense to me.
Because I see this as like, this is Black Balloons, you know, we had that studio character envisioning a better life for himself.
Yeah.
You know, he has like a line in this, you know, there's like, you know, a lot of elevation lyrics on here, like moving up escalators, but also like I'm about to get lifted. I think he's like saying like I'm about to get lifted by like the label. Everything's gonna be like pulling me up. I'm gonna have all this cash. I can see my future. I know what's gonna be. Like I don't there's no more mystery anymore. I think this is like kind of showing like kind of just Black Balloons is like wishing for like seeing a better life. This is someone who's confident that that better life is in the palm of their hand. They got it now. So I think by itself, you know, it's kind of a fun pop song. You know, Denzel's definitely starting the album with some more like laid back and poppy flows from what he's like known for and what he gets into later. So I think in the context of the album, this is like, I don't know,
like it's kind of strange to hear it coming from him. Like, is that what you're kind of getting at?
No, I was saying like, you know, he's starting the album with these more like kind of poppy kind of commercial like flows and whatnot, kind of bring you in lightly because not like, no pun intended, because Act 1 is light. But he's bringing you in like, you know, gently into these places he's going to go because the character himself, you know, doesn't know where he is yet.
And it could even be like kind of meta, where it's like you're starting out with what this kind of fictional character is creating like at the hands of the label, and then it's like more and more getting into like his distaste for everything that's going on with him, I guess. Yeah, I love that idea that, you know, we're starting off with maybe some of these more commercial tracks. Yeah. Finger quotes. Because I think they're like, I don't want that to be like an insult or anything. Like, I think they're great. But, you know, we kind of get it. We slowly devolve into less and less, you know, genuinely commercial material. We get it as we go on, as he gets more and more honest or forthright about what he believes about this industry. I think he stops playing a character for, you know, the more and more he goes, the less and less he's in character. Yeah, there is one line in here where he says, "Now all my troubles and problems have shifted." And to me, that's like I was just thinking about it, and however I was looking at this album before when I listened to it for the first time, like before seeing this music video and all that. But it's like kind of thinking about how before, like, all of his problems had to do with like negative experiences in his past, like those black balloons. And now that he has this fame and he has this money, and now that it's more like his problems have switched up and they're focused more on like, I don't know, problems with money, maybe addiction, things that come with this kind of rock and roll lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then in like the context of like this character,
He probably likes that these problems are shifting a bit though, because maybe his problems in the past he sees as like so horrible, like having no money, having none of this. Now his problems are like, oh, like
I have too much money
Yeah,
now. It just won't fit in my wallet.
and he doesn't know how big those problems are actually going to be yet. He just sees them as like, my problems have shifted, like everything's good now. Like my problems are like stuff I can handle. But really, like those problems are going to be way more taxing than I think he initially assumes.
I think so too.
All right, Michael. Track 4, last song on Act 1, Light, Sumo.
Sumo.
What do you think about this song?
This is a cool one.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's like the first like really kind of hard-hitting one on the album. Good end to part 1, I suppose. You definitely start to get that switch up.
Yeah.
And the whole feel of the songs at this point. This one kind of feels to me like it's either like some kind of diss track or like a kind of like, hey, look at me, I'm so much better than you. Like, I got all this shit, what do you have? Denzel
Curry said it was like not a parody, but like everything other rappers talk about to like the nth degree.
I can definitely see that.
Blow it all up, make it kind of like silly, but also like, kind of making it a banger and whatnot. So that was kind of how he described it on an interview I watched.
And that's kind of interesting because now, I'm thinking about it again in context of like this whole story we've got going on. And it's like maybe this is like the first kind of song that this artist is putting out there. And like while he's living this kind of big lifestyle, he's kind of acting like everyone else does. He's got the drugs, he's got the women. Now he has this kind of big song about like, look at all the stuff I got.
Michael Kelly, his pockets aren't just big. They're sumo.
They're sumo?
Yeah, they're not just big. Like they're bigger than big. You know what I mean? Like his pockets aren't just big. They're rakishi, which is the Japanese word for a sumo wrestler, but also the name of a actual like American. I don't know why I said actual. a American wrestler.
A real life wrestler.
The sumo wrestlers are not real wrestlers, Michael.
They're not real. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's just a story, man.
I kind of see that. I like that idea that this is like the first one. I think this or the next song, Super Saiyan Superman, could both kind of fit that way. I feel like we first got Cash Maniac about, him kind of like feeling, Denzel Curry, the character he's playing, kind of feel like lifted up by his label maybe, and being able to see his future with tons of money and whatnot. And now Sumo is like, we start to see that how he's going to like use his money. He's kind of, there's a lot of lyrics in the first verse about, keeping it to himself, the money to himself. Like it's a very kind of greedy, money hungry song. So I think this is like, Cash Maniac, we kind of see like an optimistic, he may not have the money yet, but he's getting it. The money's coming in. The money's starting to come in. And he's like, okay, this is real. This is serious. Next song, Sumo, I feel like now like Denzel, the character, like has all the money and he's like, he wants to flex it. He wants to be the big man on campus. Look at my pockets.
Yeah, like all this money and power is just going right to his head right now.
Yeah, so I think this is now like showing this kind of selfish kind of immediate reaction to getting the money.
Yeah.
Beside the narrative, I love how much of a nerd Denzel Curry comes off on this song. It's a really big like kind of selling point for him for me. To hear him, being like saying that the chopper eats a fella like chowder.
Rada 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 rada.
Rada.
Also the line, Bill's on me blue, Sly Cooper.
Yeah.
I like that one.
His reference to how he throws flames like Prince Zuko.
Yeah.
Like I love his personality really shows on it. And this is like, again, I said like my feelings on song to song, I like all of them. I'm going to say that. just going forward. But like my emotions towards each song is very volatile. When I heard that, like I used to love this song. Then I started listening it for this, and I was like, like I'm not crazy about the hook, like you maybe blah, blah, blah. But now I listen to it now, and I'm like, no, the song's great because it's just I love the air horns, the the big bass, like he's just having a ball on this track. His flows, which was what made me fall in love with him in the first place, are so intimidating. Like, I feel like if this is him flexing on other rappers, like, you guys think you guys are stacking? Look at my pockets.
They're sumo.
They're sumo. Like, he's so intimidating. I feel like his flow is like, rada, 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 rada. He sounds like a mad dog ripping into these other people. And I'm in love with him. And I love songs like this where he's just having a little bit of fun on the track. And I think it does fit into the narrative, and I like its place on the album, transitioning us from Act 1 light into now some stuff in Act 2. All right, first song off Act 2, Gray, but the fifth song on Taboo. The only way I can really justify the song, I like it because I like these Denzel bangers. Yeah. It's fairly short, he just kind of gets in and out. We only get one verse. The only way I can really justify it though on the track listing, especially being on Gray, is it just supposed to like kind of like bridge the gap between Sumo and this, kind of showing like, because I liked what you said that Sumo was like his first big single coming out. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe that this is like could just be like Act 2 of Gray, we're reintroducing you to like this character, making this type of music or not. Otherwise though, I don't really know. I like it. Like I generally like it, but I don't really know what it does for the track listing, because out of this and Sumo I think is the better track. I think it's funnier. I think it has more personality in it. He does have the line in this where he does say like, if my girl has to be clean, like Tide detergent, I'm gonna get in your body like a surgeon. Like it has those, but like it's not. I don't think it doesn't have any moments like on Sumo, like the rida. Right. Like so, I think it's the lesser of the two bangers side by side. I like it because I like these type of songs, but I don't really know. Can't really justify what it's doing on the record.
So can I ask you a question about the record?
Go ahead.
All right. Was it all released like at the same time, all three parts, or were they released separately?
They were released separately.
So yeah, then it probably makes sense that it's sort of like a reintroduction to like this kind of character we've set up.
Yeah.
Pick up where we left off, because like I have like the same kind of feelings I was getting from the last one, where it's just like, look at all my money, like I'm big shit. Like that's pretty much what this one is too. It's like, oh dude, like I'm a Super Saiyan. Like what are you? Like I'm so much better than you.
Like I can really get into his like sharp, deadly flows on this. They're not as animated on Sumo, but like I like his kind of straight to the point, kind of like fast, kind of like staccato type rhythms he has on here. But overall, I think it's just kind of in and out track. It's not that long, only a verse.
It's kind of like his follow-up single after Sumo.
Probably could have benefited from a feature, even though he says, I don't need a feature on the song. I think the song could have benefited from a feature, but,
whatever.
Still love it.
Still a Denzel banger.
Still a Denzel banger, and that's, a Denzel banger I think is much better than a lot of other bangers that I can get just straight out of a lot of other people. Even when Denzel's like, kind of shooting under his weight, he puts out something that I'm going to put on in the car and feel like a Super Saiyan Superman. All right, track two on Act 2 of Gray, Taboo. What do you think, Michael? Switch it up.
This is a good one. It's got a nice beat to it. It's like kind of like dark and ominous, and like I love the intro where he comes in like, to be or not to be.
He has so much
a lot of energy,
performance in his in his delivery. like he's acting. It sounds like it's not like he's like putting on like a character. Well, he is like at times, but he's just like putting so much personality into each lyric. Like he's having fun with it, but also like he's able just to switch it up.
Yeah, he's just switching it up.
Like on like a dime, on a dime. Like he has that to be or not to be, yeah, blah, 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 and then he just like goes down and he just switches into a whole nother flow. And he just that's the song is a great meshing of song topic and delivery, because not only like he's talking about people kind of turning on him, you know, people who like act like friends, but then all of a sudden, you know, switch up and, you know, kind of like you, but then they don't like you the next day. So not only is he talking about this kind of bipolar kind of switching up of people and their relationship with you, but he's also just constantly switching up his flow. Constantly. He's doing these crazy things, then he's doing these more staccato kind of things like near like the chorus and whatnot. It's great. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. The effortlessness, the effortless way he manages to get to a verse into the chorus in the song is great. He never loses momentum. It's not like there's like a little like, you know, like a little like thing, and then we jump into the chorus.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Goes straight through it. And there's other songs in this that I feel the same way, but this way, like I'm always just like in awe of how like, oh my god, we're right back in the hook. And he didn't even take a breath, bro. It's speaking about the chorus in this is one of my favorite hooks off the entire album.
It's a good one. Yeah.
It's so catchy. It's so instantly recognizable, but also like how what he's saying. So I think that this is like not the first song, but I think this is like I'm not really sure, but this is like a good song where we're getting Denzel. I don't think he's playing any character on this. I think we're hearing from more of Denzel's point of view on how he sees the music industry or the people around him have treated him in this industry. So where we have this character who's like we kind of like introduce as a little, what's the word, naive almost. He's kind of wide-eyed going into this world, and I think we're taking a little break from him, and now we're seeing Denzel talking about his experience with starting to get fame and recognition. Right. And I think the first big thing he tackles, and I think he talks about this also on the next song, is the idea that these bipolar people, bipolar in air quotes, not mental illness bipolar, but these bipolar people around you who are just playing you, that aren't really your friends, that are going to say that you're nice one day, and then they're going to say you're mean. They're say that you're green, and then they're going to say like you're in the lead. And then they say they're going to make money by any means. So by any means. So like Denzel's kind of saying like, in this world with confusing, different, changing alliances, people doing this, people doing that, in the end, you have to think about yourself, and you have to make sure you get the money by any means. Money as in get what you need.
Yeah, get whatever. Yeah. Whatever you're going after. Yeah,
because these people, you can't. It's like, I feel it's a part of it is like you know, a self-independence anthem of being like, you gotta do it by yourself, because these people are not gonna. They're going to say they're going to help you, but really they're just trying to get into your pocket while you're hot. And then when you're not, they're going to leave you. And I think that plays into this character that we hear who, you know, we kind of hear, or we start later on at least, playing into trends, playing into like being what the rapper, the biggest rapper would do, other rappers are doing. And that's because that's what makes the money. That's what like is going to keep the label happy. That's what's up. So I think like Denzel Curry's like understanding like, if you aren't going to like, you know, just play into the trends, if you're not just going to play into it all, you got to do it by yourself. No one's going to really help you out because it's all about the money. And that's also kind of for you. Like you act under the same rules as everyone else. You know, he has great lines about that where he's like, I forget, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like a fella changed with a pocket full of change. All of it's ruled. What did the Wu-Tang Clan? Cream. Cash rules everything around me. So I think that's kind of like Amen. What the song's about. In a nutshell.
Oh, a couple lines actually. There's one he says, like, they only seen one side. And then like a couple lines later, he says they only know Denzel Curry, but they don't really know Denzel.
Yeah.
And it's like these, I don't know, it could be like these people who are sort of like really fake with you and try to get close to you to try to maybe get something out of you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, my buddy Denzel Curry. I don't know.
That's kind of.
But like they don't really know who Denzel
Yeah.
is. Like they know you by name.
Yeah.
And like they're close enough to like know your name or
Yeah.
be close to you or something.
I kind of interpret that as like Denzel Curry, like, you know, you might meet a lot of people, you know, you may be out and about, and all these people are like, they know him, they know Denzel Curry, they know the artist, and they know what they can get from him. So everyone's just coming up to him acting like they know him, like, oh, Denzel Curry, you know, like, I know you remember me, you know, everyone's acting like they just know him, and they can just enter his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they know the rapper Denzel Curry, and they know what they can get from him. So like all these people they're like, oh, we're cool, Denzel. It's like, you don't know who I am. We never like talked. We know each other.
And Denzel Curry, the rapper, as you were saying, puts on a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how do we know? I mean, I guess like all of it together would be the real Denzel,
Yeah.
but if all we're getting from him is like these kind of disconnected characters of his personality, then like we don't really know what the real Denzel is when it's all together.
All right, track 7. So, Mad Eye got it. Mad Eye got it.
Slow down there.
Dude, I was just
ahead of yourself.
cut in ahead, bro, because for the longest time I was not a fan of this song. Recently, though, I really like the verses on this song.
Yeah.
And I like the hook. It's just, you know, not really like can't really pop it on all the time. You know, it's very kind of like, you know, he has all these like really reverb kind of like chants in the background, and it's
very dreamy.
Yeah,
feeling.
very dreamlike. I've never been able to usually get into it, but I really like what he's saying on this track in general. This feels like kind of the more dreary, depressed version of Switch It Up. If Switch It Up is like Denzel Curry being like, you know, attacking and like sticking up for himself, this feels like him just accepting the fact like that, I don't know, just like kind of like the depression that comes when you realize you're like a certain type of alone. Because I don't know if like Denzel is alone, but like the fact that like there's all these people that he feels like he can't trust and that are just want to use him and whatnot. That are just want it because he has it and therefore they want it. It's like an ode to jealousy. Not an ode, but like it's a wrong descriptor, but like a kind of a lament of jealousy. That the fact that this is like the human condition. I guess I'll just go into it real quick. I think the first verse is kind of like from the perspective of Denzel Curry before, kind of in the position maybe our label character was in at the beginning of the album. You know, kind of like looking up. He wants to be he wants to be that man one day. He's kind of talking about like wanting to do it all, and it's kind of this innocent kind of beginning of wanting to grow up and be this big artist. The second, I think, is like, you know, the depressing side of when he actually became one and he realizes the police still are going to kill him. It doesn't matter to them. They don't know who Denzel Curry is. So he can't trust, like, you know, them. He can't trust, like, necessarily the people around him because they just want to use him for his money. Mm-hmm. So I think, like, that's kind of like, you know, showing, like, you know, Denzel putting himself in the place of that character at the beginning of the album, but not playing him, just kind of like relating. Like, I also wanted to have the same aspirations, but then you get there and you just kind of realize this is what the life is like. And then the last verse, I think, is Denzel stated is from the point of view of someone that has nothing. And you can tell, especially by the end when he says, because I'm mad he got it.
Okay.
And he talks about how this character feels stuck. And in this like certain like life he's in, where he says he has to wear a mask every day, kind of like implying maybe he has to like rob things, or maybe he just can't like be himself because that's not what's gonna get him forward. So I feel like that's Denzel kind of like relating and kind of understanding this place of like, the hustlers out there, kind of relating with the hustlers and being like, we all are just, just trying to make a better life for ourselves. And whether we like it or not, we have, we look at what other people have and we're mad he got it because we feel like we should. And it's like kind of just a lament, I think is the best descriptor of the human condition of jealousy.
I would agree with that. I do slightly disagree with what you said though. For the most part, like basically I was thinking the same thing. But the part where it differed was when you said like towards the end where he says like, I'm mad you got it.
Yeah.
Where like you saw it from somebody else's point of view looking at Denzel's position. To me, I saw it as, like the first half of the song is like, you're mad that I got it because I'm successful. I have all this money. But at the end, it's still his point of view, but looking towards everyone else. Like I'm mad that you've got this lifestyle where you don't have to worry about like all these problems, or you're not like plagued with all of this money,
Capital
all of this fame.
Hate the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having like, I don't know, this eye on you all the time.
I love the couple like bars he had in the his second verse where he kind of says like that lies are like a relationship is like, like a field, like a farming field, let's say. And you can either fertilize that with like, things are going to grow like nice crops, or like, but these toxic kind of one-sided, I help, you help me, I don't help you relationships are kind of like oil that kind of sink down deep into the relationship, into the soil. So I really like all that imagery he's using.
That's a good image.
It's really like, and he sounds generally kind of just like depressed and kind of like fed up with it. I love the lyricism on this track, and it's kind of turned me around to it a bit. It's a certain All right, track 8, Sirens, featuring JID.
All right, so I want to start out, just kind of amend my previous statement. I think I like this one better than Mad I Got It and
really?
Clout Cobain.
Yeah.
Like overall, I think I like it more. I like Denzel's verses, but I'm not a huge fan of like the hook or JID. Is that who was featured? I'm not a huge fan of his verse. I don't know why.
Bro,
it just doesn't do much for me.
He interpolates the Star-Spangled Banner.
Does he actually?
He says, "Oh, say, can you see 1,000 dead bodies in the street?"
Like lyrically, I'm sure it's fine. I'm just, I don't know, his flows, I guess, aren't speaking to me. But Denzel, like one of his lines that really popped out to me that I really liked while we were listening to it, that I'm like, oh, maybe I do like this one more. When the fire opened, let it be your moment. When I shoot the sheriff, if he not demoted, then bang. I like that part.
I can agree with, again, this was another black sheep in the Taboo family for me. Until this listen, all these black sheeps, I think, just because I can't help but just love what Denzel is saying and how he's saying it. Like these lyrics and this song and Mad I Got It. Like I may not still like love the song. Like I may not put it on and just always listen to it. But I just love it so much more just because how the way he expresses himself just feels so succinct and concise, and he's so well spoken while being also bringing similar to Corey but in a different way. Just feels like so well spoken while also just being raging against like the system. You know what I mean? And again, I do like JID. I like a lot of his songs or not. I haven't listened to like him a lot, but like on this song, I was also not like in love with this verse or not. I think a lot of people like love this verse because Denzel Curry said he only wrote his second verse because when he got JID's, it was so good he thought that he wanted to write another one.
Wow.
It just inspired him. It's like, yo, I got to do another one.
They didn't want to be outplayed by JID, I guess.
Yeah. I think so. But then when I just saw that JID interpolated the Star Spangled Banner and wrote this: "Oh say, can you see 100 dead bodies in the street by the dawn's early light? Double Sprite and a RAPT. So proudly lights gleam, let the guns blow in the nighttime of the slum house. Little drum bump with the 1000. Come, come, here they come." I was like,
Sheesh.
oh, bro, I was knocked out. I was knocked out. The whole idea that all these people are like, that by the dawn's early light we see, just a whole bunch of dirty Sprite and RAPTs, like the fact that everyone, like all these people are dying from like what? Addiction, like these health problems, but we're treating them like criminal problems. So the whole idea that all these people, are dying from these very easy to diagnose things. They're not like this mystery. Like these people are dying because they're addicted. And RAPTs, like the fact that we have to keep seeing like all these T-shirts like RAP so and so on like the T-shirt. That's how I kind of interpret it. Like, I can't help but just fall in love with how he's expressing himself. Like and how he JD talks about his relationship with America as like a bad relationship with a woman where he has a long erection with no protection. Like I can't not love it. I can't not love it. Like I actively was trying, but I couldn't. I afterwards I was like, no, this is just as good as so many other songs in this album. I love Denzel's whole like metaphor where he's saying like, it feels like, being a minority in the U.S. is like going gay because of date rape.
Yeah.
Cause like he says like first like good girl gone bad girl. This whole idea that the reason like you may see like all this like minority crime air quotes is the fact like if people like have consistently for all of time keep having these bad experiences with law enforcement, don't trust them, like they're not this big incentive to be a good citizen because they're not benefiting from being a good citizen at all. They almost they'll be harmed in a certain way, like financially or not, from being the good citizen or not. So that's like the reason you might see it is because like why would they have that trust with the law enforcement to protect them? The protect their right to do these simple things to improve their life. Or just be like a normal person. So I fell in love with the lyrics on this thing. I like how apocalyptic it sounds. Like it's a kind of a pop, like, with the hook and whatnot. But like Denzel's whole like final verse where the beat just kind of drops off and he just feels like so off the cuff, where he's just so angry. He just sounds like the world is ending. And he's just so angry that the world is ending, but the reasons why it's ending are so like easily not fixable, but just like easy to identify. They're not like these mysteries. Like the reasons why these things are happening are like have been documented for so long, and yet it doesn't matter anymore. Like I love that line, like Donald Trump, Donald Duck. What's the difference? It's not like on one hand he's comparing Donald Trump to Donald Duck, but I also feel it's like it doesn't matter who's in charge. We could have like random Donald Duck in charge. It's not gonna fix anything because it's the system that's broken. Donald Trump, plays into that broken system. He's not really trying to bring awareness or fix any of it or even... But then again, like, other people, like, you could say, like, Obama's in office. Things, the system's not broken. Not necessarily our leader. And the leader might be broken, but just because we have a good leader doesn't mean we can just sit back and just, like, let off steam, because it hasn't happened before, and there's no reason why we should believe it happens now. And it's all his lyrics at the end of verse 1 where he talks about like time to run with lions on the road to Zion in this age of violence, time to grab the iron, where he talks like it has this kind of end of the world feel to it, like this whole idea that things are coming to a head, things are going to end soon, this kind of like rapture-ish feeling, I feel like, because he said the chorus is from the perspective of God talking to Denzel. And another beautiful moment of lyricism when he says, like, babe, there's a time to stand your ground. Even if one of them sounds, don't let me down. Because if you remember in Florida, there was the George Zimmerman case where he, like, killed this unarmed like black kid in like a supermarket for like no reason
Right.
because he felt like threatened, and he didn't go to jail or anything because there's this stand your ground law in Florida, or at the
Okay.
time, where if you feel threatened, you're allowed to defend yourself.
Right.
And he got off. So this whole idea that, you know, like God's talking to Denzel saying like, when you hear the siren sound, like when the cops are coming for you, stand your ground. You didn't do anything. But then the whole like idea that, you know, George Zimmerman can defend his ground, but no one thinks about what about the kid he killed.
Yeah.
Does he have the right to stand his ground? It's not equal. So I think like God's like saying, you know, be that change in the world. Don't let these injustices just go like run by you. Don't be a victim of them. Stand your ground and try to do something. You know, I don't know what he could do. I don't know. But I think that's like just there's palpable feelings of just urgency in the song, and I just couldn't help but just fall deeply in love with it. Despite the fact that, you know, it's not my favorite like hook on this thing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily my like, but I couldn't fall in love with this, like how well there was expressed, how poetically, but also how beautifully they were talking to himself. When he compares that we still live in the colonies because you know the whole like, you know, the country's so divided.
There's still like so much racism where it's like slavery might as well still exist.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I see that's like the country's still so divided.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, you know, we're this unified nation. Like we're still super divided. We're not even divided on border lines, but like we're divided like basically just into totally different colonies, you know, left and right. And we're like run by a so-called like dictator, you know, a tyrant.
No.
Or not, which I believe like he's his kind of point. So love this song.
But yeah, I agree with the whole thing about how like, you know, it's not my favorite song. It's not something I'll listen to, but like in the context of the album, like it has its place.
Yeah.
And it does have good lyrical themes, good lyrical writing, and all that.
And I just like when he says like talking about let's make it great. I feel like he's just getting onto this idea that it's like cool to be cruel now. It's cool to be like build the fort. It's not cool to do, you know, the other, you know, the more like build the bridge. If we're using like these nouns as like a symbol, like it's not. I think he's kind of like asking for like empathy in people. You know, I don't think he's not really calling out, I think, sides or anything. He's just saying like we're divided. People, there's a general just lack of empathy for anyone and everyone, unless they like fit within a certain box. I think he's just asking for people to stand their ground. Yeah. In general, I don't know.
Yeah, because that line just sounds like he's saying that it's easier for you to just kind of build a wall around yourself and shut everyone out, like different opinions and all that, than to try to relate to somebody else and see their point of view.
Yeah. All right, Michael Kelly. Final track off the gray part of this album. Clout Cobain, the big single from this album, the big famous song.
Really?
What do you think of it?
Well, I gotta say you were right. Seeing the music video really changed my mind on the song, I guess. I don't know, I just like this whole idea of like, I don't know, this character that's being developed in these music videos along with the album. It really like gives like a more complete picture that wasn't there necessarily just listening to the music by itself. I mean, like you get some of it, like the whole idea of like Clout Cobain, where it's you're kind of like chasing the clout, trying to get to this big kind of rock star status.
Yeah.
And like the kind of lifestyle you live doing that just leads you to be in like a really dark place because you're just constantly searching for like that next high of, I don't know, fame and money and drugs.
And did you see the audience he was performing for?
I did. They all had face tattoos. They were all doing Xanax. They were all sipping lean.
Yeah, but like there were a whole bunch of white like a whole bunch of
yeah,
white
they were all
teenagers. White. The whole idea that this reminds me of a idea that J. Cole introduced on a song 1985 off his album KOD, where he says that song is like phrased as this dialogue between him and like a new wave type of rapper. You may call them a mumble rapper. But I think that is a stupid description of them. But it's like him talking to this younger kind of like artist who's like, you know, playing into all these trends, and he's saying like the fact of the matter is, and he says this, is that all your audience, you're performing for all these suburban white kids who want to be black, secretly want to be black, yeah. And secretly want to feel like this is what it's like to be black. That you don't give a heck about your life, that you like got all these face tats, you sip all this lean, you have this rock star attitude, and that's what it's like to be black. They don't want to see you as like this like fully developed human being. They want to see you wave your gun in Instagram Live and feel like the proximity to that like that danger, you know, that they may be lacking in their lives. And I feel like that's what the line like the poetry of these lyrics, Michael Kelly,
lay it on me,
gets me. Like I'm just trying to feel myself. You want me to kill myself? I feel like that's like a dialogue with the fans saying like, I'm just trying to, you know, live my life, but what you want from me, what you want me to actively be putting out is all this behavior that's just going to end up killing me. So he's basically saying like, you know, from the beginning of the album, you know, he's just trying to feel himself, you know, he's just trying to make it big, you know, get that success, express himself through the music. You know, we see that kind of initial wide-eyed kind of persona at the beginning of the album. And then in this, you know, we hear like, you just want me to kill myself. You don't really care about me. You just want me to pop up his hand, drink some lean. That's what they play into it. He's kind of bringing the fans into it, that they're playing in to this whole to these behaviors that we've seen that time and time again to not be really productive in an artist's career. They can be, you know, like, sure. But really like in the worst case scenario, you get a Juice WRLD, you get a Lil Peep, you get all these artists who have expressed themselves in countless songs about these problems, and we go to them for that because they just the way they're able to express it is so like genuine. Yet like it doesn't. We're still surprised when Juice WRLD dies. There's no surprise anymore, and that's there shouldn't be a surprise anymore. I think that's the whole like, meaning of the music video when like he has all these like he has a couple of lines throughout the album where he says like it's all like everyone thinks it's funny until you do it. Everyone thinks it's like, you know, oh, you're gonna shoot up a school, haha, until you actually shoot up a school. Denzel Curry said that in an interview, where, you know, everyone like, you know, kind of tolerates, you know, this until all of a sudden, oh my God, they died, and it's like a shock. And that's what happens in the music video. Everyone's laughing at him, you know, like he's like doing all this crazy stuff, and then he shoots himself, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what?" Like that's what happens in the music video.
Yeah.
So I think, this whole song is about like the death or the legend of the rock star lifestyle, and I think the best lyrics on that is "Suicidal doors. Call it Kurt Cobain, suwu leather seats like a bloody stain," where it's like this kind of like this idolization of the rock star like lifestyle with like, you know, doing all like having all this stuff, the suicidal doors, you know, we want to be like Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain is his idol of the rock star life. Yeah. When really he wasn't. He didn't like the rock star life. He was, you know, someone who would have actively shunted it. He didn't like being in like the press. He didn't do drugs because they were cool. He did it because he had like severe depression and like severe stomach pains. Yeah. And when he killed himself, like, it wasn't like this, you know, kind of like big rock star exit. It's this sad, awful vision of like this image of someone who needed help and just couldn't get it. He didn't get it. He couldn't for whatever reason. And now, you know, the kids nowadays might like idolize that whole idea. But Kurt Cobain was never part of it. And the whole idea that the rock star lifestyle is this, you know, this rite of passage, when like I feel like the rock star lifestyle we talked about with Slipknot last week.
Yeah.
Is not like something has never been like a productive thing for the music. It tears bands apart. We saw with Slipknot that they all hated each other. There's this another movie called The Last Waltz, which is a documentary of the last concert the band ever played, which was a band in the 70s. And they said, like, why are we retiring? It's like, because this is an unlivable life. If we keep doing this, we will kill ourselves. So, like, this whole idea that, you know, these kids are just, like, living the rock star life and we're, like, idolizing it. The rock star life has never been this awesome thing. It's always kind of been, like, you know, and I think Denzel Curry here is kind of demythologizing that, kind of pulling back the curtain, showing that, you know, these artists, you know, are just putting on a show for the audience, like these desperate circus freaks, trying to get them to like them, trying to ride trends because they're so desperate for them to, you know, get affirmed, because that's kind of the wave they're on. Yeah, that's kind of the wave they're on.
Searching for that next high of dopamine from the reaction they're getting from their fans. Yeah. The label and as the label doesn't care, they're not discouraging it. They're taking, because they're getting the money out of his pocket. Like the label in the video, he's just pulling the money. I mean, maybe it was out of his pocket. When I saw it, I thought he was pulling it out of his ass.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, I like the ending of the music video. You know, when he finally shot himself. And then that black balloon.
Yeah, the black balloons pops
because he's finally free of
finally his peace.
Yeah, that black balloon floated by him.
Mm-hmm. It's heartbreaking. This video is heartbreaking for me.
A lot of emotion.
A lot of it, and this is like this is probably my favorite song off the album, just for the themes and like what it says alone. I do love the lullaby kind of beat. The really soft kind of like synths that kind of have this like kind of dreamy kind of lullaby feel to it. I love that. And but this song is like just too on the nose for my liking. Too on the nose. No wait, not for my. I love it, but just like too on the nose for me not to like to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the music video marks a big transition to dark, because this character we've been sort of following has now died.
Yeah.
And now I think when we switch over to dark, we start seeing more of Denzel calling out these tactics straight out. Not like through a character, more just being explicitly commenting on it himself, I think. Because now he's been doing it kind of like in the subtext. He's been commenting on it. Mm-hmm. It's very powerful subtext. You'd have to be looking the other way to like to not even know it's there. Maybe not. All right. Let's get into it. Song 1 off of Act 3, the final act on Taboo, Dark.
Yes, sir.
The Blackest Balloon. What did you think?
This one's kind of cool. To me, so do you know the term, like a black pill, where it's just like this really depressing scenario, like you like in the Matrix, you have like the blue pill and the red pill, and then there's like, I don't know if it was created on the internet, like then there's the black pill. You take the black pill and then your eyes open to like the depressing reality of whatever situation it is.
Well, I'm not no, I'm not familiar.
Okay.
With that.
So I don't know, to me the blackest balloon kind of it feels similar to the black pill, I guess. At least in the way I'm looking at it. where this blackest balloon, or like just like the most depressing thing about like this kind of career as a musician is like those people that chase like in Clout Cobain, like these people that chase this kind of like fantasy rock star lifestyle.
Yeah.
And like that's just kind of the worst, like I don't know, like the black balloon is just like the worst kind of negative thing to build up inside of you. Like that's kind of where like what I think in the hook where he says like it feels like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like this kind of like terrible lifestyle that people are chasing. It's like it's just terrible. Why would you do that?
I like this song. Honestly, diminishing returns. Best way to describe it. Because with the title, The Blackest Balloon, man, Denzel Curry is offering up some hype. That title, I feel, is like stacked with so much meaning, especially with his album, with what the black balloon symbolizes.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a song called The Blackest Balloon, you know, I feel like this song does just not live up to the hype of that name. I feel like his second verse, he goes into some about like, you know, ain't shit changed since Lil Peep died, stuff like that. But I feel like he's not really saying anything in the song that he hasn't said in spades and Clout Cobain.
Yeah.
Not like, you know, the next song, Perks, with what we're going to get to, where I think him commenting on it more directly, you know, kind of changes it a bit. Mm-hmm. This, like, he's really kind of skating kind of on the surface level. I love that line, ain't shit changed since Lil Peep died. I just feel like the song is overall just kind of a little all over the place to be called like the blackest balloon. We're being promised this is the darkest kind of like parts of my soul. The biggest thing that is like challenging me. And we get kind of like a reference to like his brother died by his brother was killed by police. So he kind of references that. But then he spends the whole like first verse kind of, you know, not really talking about anything really in particular. I like his flow, where he talks about, you know, these hoes will leave you passed out in your underwear and stuff like that. But again, we got more like, you know, heartfelt and kind of emotional deliveries about how you can't trust, you know, these women or these other people are around you. And like songs like Switch It Up and Bad I Got It. So I feel like we're not getting anything on the song that we haven't gotten in like much more depth than on other songs. And when you have a song called like The Blackest Balloon, I feel like this song could have gone so much deeper into like the biggest things that are challenging Denzel Curry himself. He could have opened up, I think, much more than he did on this track. And I'm saying that only because he opens up so much on so many songs in this album. And just to hear him kind of, I don't know, just kind of skirt on in these two verses with kind of like some superficial bars talking about how people are popping Xans and doing this and that. Like it's anything to, it sounds like more of an intro track than like a song this far into the album.
I was going to say like I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like it's just kind of like a similar vein to
Super Saiyan Superman,
yes, where it's just sort of like to bridge the gap between the previous part and this one to just kind of like sum up, you know, what kind of themes they talked about on you know, the last few songs, and just kind of bring us into this next part, kind of because it's sort of like to bridge what we talked about before and then introduce it into what we're gonna say on Perks.
I guess I just feel like it's very underwhelming because I feel like where we were in the Super Saiyan Superman Sumo is we were just like kind of summing up banger territory.
Right.
And I don't really love Super Saiyan Superman. Like I think I like it as a banger, but really I think that's the one track on this album that I don't even know if it fits. I think it could honestly be cut from the track listing. Cause I don't, so I get like that. I could see that. It's just like when we have built up so much momentum emotionally going up to this point. Clout Cobain is like the peak of my emotions on this album. I feel like I've reached such like a climax where I'm just like so invested in what Denzel has to say and where these characters that he's kind of building go. he's built up so much momentum, and now I think this is just a very kind of underwhelming start to the last act. I feel like it's kind of feels like he's run out maybe of things to say about these topics in depth. And that's not really, an insult because he said so much about it already in such a short amount of time. But song just feels like an underwhelming, transition. But even this, I think, has a banging beat. It has some great flows. All right, Perks. 11th track on Taboo. What do you think of this, Michael?
So this song is like Denzel Curry's Heretic Anthem in my eyes.
I can see it. I think a lot of Iowa did color my impressions of listening to this album, I can say.
Yeah, got some similar themes going on in some of it. This track is very like anti-music industry, like anti-popular musicians. Like his lines, they all sound like do do do. You're like, oh, that's lit. Making fun of mumble rappers saying like, I don't got tattoos on my face.
Yeah, because Denzel's a different race.
Yeah.
This is not your kind by Slipknot.
We are not your kind.
We are not your kind.
It's okay. Close enough.
Thank you.
He doesn't fuck with the perk, He's not sipping that lean.
He barely fucks with the earth.
He barely fucks with the earth. Like, come on, man.
Which I think is like, a funny thing. Like, I barely do weed, man. I think
yeah,
that's
like, this is too much. Yeah. Like, calm yourself.
I love like his, again, like songs like this and Switch It Up are like great examples of, I love this song. I love this a lot. Even I like this song in context of the album. It's honestly not disappointing, but like I can't help but have it be colored by some of the songs around it that disappoint me. But I love this song. I love how it's a great example of Denzel Curry's delivery where he's like constantly just like acting, even though he's like he's flowing. He's switching up his flows, but he's like given like this whole performance to it. Like I love at the beginning of the second verse how he's being all sarcastic. Like maybe I should go up to jail to get my name up. Like I love his sarcasm. I love the personality he brings to like every lyric on this thing. It just brings even this isn't a generic banger at all. He has a lot to say on it, but even when he's making those, he brings that personality, which just bumps it up. And I think this is a great example. Like I love similar to Switch It Up. His flows are relentless in this thing. We just go like the way we get into the verses into the chorus, it just sounds like he doesn't stop. He's just this one untapped kind of like take. Probably isn't, but
probably not.
One where he just can't stop. Like you don't hear the breaths. The way he raps this, I love this hook. This is one of my favorite choruses on the entire thing because of how relentless it is, how just nonstop it is. The way he just is rapping on top of each other. As soon as he ends a word, the next line is on. As soon as he finishes it, the next. It just sounds like this little anthem, which is just a kind of like his body, his voice has taken over his performance, and now he's just tweaking at the mic. I think we finally get, we're finally now in like ultimate Denzel. You hear the little, I think we hear like calls of ultimate right at the beginning of the track. Maybe is the next song. I think actually where we hear the calls of ultimate. I mixed them up. But we get ultimate Denzel because he says, I'm ULT, and I don't fuck with you if you ain't us. So we know which kind of character he's in. And he's just kind of like now calling it out like no BS. You know what I mean? Like we follow this character, but now he's just commenting on it directly. So if you missed it the first time, here it is again. So love the song.
It's a good one. It's a banger. It's a Denzel banger.
I love when he said like, let's get some white, like some kids to hang out with. Where he's saying like, who's your audience? Like you guys are just gonna hang out with all these like kids who are like bumping Tekashi right next to your stuff. Tekashi 6ix9ine.
For those who don't know.
Yeah.
I like his line where he's saying, industry fellas the worst, acting like they from the dirt.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, they're pretending to be relatable, like kind of figures to these, I don't know, whoever's listening, you know, these white kids maybe, or
But they're not.
even like just anyone listening. But it's like, no, they're not. Like,
Yeah.
he's not living in the hood. He's living in like this mansion in LA probably.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know, they're just all fake, just kind of, you know, making money for the big suits.
Yeah.
It's sad,
With
isn't it?
righteous anger, bro. He's striking them down.
Striking them down.
Striking them down. All right, the penultimate song in Taboo, Vengeance. What do you? I heard this is your first song you heard of Michael Kelly.
This is the first song that I heard off of this record, this LP, this project.
What do you think of it?
It's a good one. It's got some good flows. It's got some good what's the word I'm looking for? Like delivery.
Yeah, great features.
Great features. They've all got great verses, and as well great deliveries of their great vocals.
JPEG Mafia on this song tweaks, bro. He feels like he is floating like above everyone and has lost control of his body. That whole part where he kind of goes into this like kind of screechy kind of like his like voice kind of keeps cracking as he screeches delivery, or he's like, "Must you hate the sky and rappers telling lies?" So good. Every time I hear it, I'm just like, this man is out of control. Same with Visual Economy, who I think delivers that like, you know, that kind of metal, kind of heavy metal, like punk energy on this.
Yeah.
With all his like little like kind of gravelly, kind of, I don't know, the growl like kind of delivery. I love him.
Yeah, I like his voice a lot. It's
and great outro. I love how this
great
outro
outro
kinda
switches up on you.
Yeah, and I love how I think it's kind of like a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of fun outro, because it's like, you know, the whole song, you know, they're rapping about like, you know, catching you outside, basically, you know, finding you and getting revenge on whoever they want revenge on or not. And then the final song, you know, we get this like, you know, like, oh, we get this quieter kind of singing, but what he's singing about is like kind of like this beautiful like intimate moment with your cat, like with the person you want to have a revenge on. It's all nice and tied up, and now you finally got them in your grasp, and it's like this nice little intimate moment where you're like, I finally got them, and now I'm going to kill them. You know, it's like kind of like this like fun tongue-in-cheek outro, I think, where it's like he like saying, I'm gonna catch you in the moonlight, but he's really just saying like, oh, like he's like, you know, it's kind of this beautiful like bliss you're getting from the vengeance. I love the retro kind of harmonies they have on that when they sing in the moonlight.
Yeah,
it's great.
What I, you know, after seeing the music video, like the way I interpreted it is like kind of, because, you know, at the beginning, it's like this character of Denzel's like comes back from the dead after having killed himself and Clout Cobain, and he's coming back to like take revenge on, you know, the big wigs in the music industry, and it's like at the end, like that kind of outro is like he's finally like his soul's at peace, and he can kind of,
I agree,
happily live in the afterlife.
I agree. But boy, can we talk about this music video for a second?
Sure.
I don't know what you think of it, but my heart was ripped out of my chest when I saw this music video.
Really?
2 acts and 2 music videos. A beautifully built up, like a beautifully built up story. And now we climax it with this like stupid
this goofy movie.
This goofy bad effects, and I'm sure they're like, oh, purposely bad, but they just look bad. They just like, they don't look like, it's not like Black Balloons where they have bad effects, but like it's fine there. What they're doing is like, what they're saying, what they're doing is, I think, so much more important, and it works with the bad effects. You know what I mean? It's kind of surreal. It's kind of weird. I like it. I'm fine with it. Like this music video takes all of the subtlety, I feel like, all of the kind of the heart kind of wrenching feelings I got watching Clout Cobain, and it just climaxes them in this like throwaway manner, like like, you know, how, like, you know, all these like awful kind of like gray topics about, you know, how labels kind of encourage artists to like follow these trends that end up just like getting them like killed, you know, all that kind of like, you know, kind of subtle stuff, or just get up and like murder them. I know that, like, it's just like this kind of like cop out way for the story to end. It's like, oh, they get revenge on the bad guy, and there's a weird anime video game in it. I was so disappointed. I was so upset. It made me honestly dislike the song more, because I love this song. I've always liked this song. But then I hear like the lyrics and everything, and I'm like, I love them. Like I like how kind of brutal they are and whatnot. But I can't help but be upset that they're not giving me what this music video isn't, because they're not really beside kind of delivering on that kind of emotion of I feel like, you know, there's not really much for the album's story or anything that it's delivering on, which I don't need. But since this is the song that they decided to have be the finale of the three kind of like the three big story points, I feel like I'm just upset. I'm just upset when I think of this music video.
I feel like the music video is like kind of intentionally cheesy, kind of like how Sumo was like intentionally over the top and like supposed to be like this what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just really over the top, like hyperbole of like a rap song. Like this is like a hyperbole of like kind of a, I don't know, like a small SoundCloud rapper or something making a home movie, or I don't know, maybe like when they first make their big like music video debut. And it's
I feel like if that was
kind of cheesy.
If that was the point, I feel like it could have been much cuter. You know, it could have been much, not like cuter, not as in like, oh, they're not like, you know, covered in blood and stuff for the video. I'm just saying cuter as in like playing into that idea that we're making like this kind of like lo-fi kind of crappy cheesy music video. But I feel like the fact that they tied it to the story really just let me down. It really let me down. It really let me down. And you know what? I'm okay with Clout Cobain being the end of it, but you know, you get what you get and you don't get upset.
You can't win them all.
Final track on this whole shabammy, Black Metal Terrorist by Denzel Curry.
Really?
If you believe it or not.
Huh.
What do you think of this, Michael Kelly?
Honestly, I feel like it's not as big as it could be to be the closing track. I feel like maybe if they switched this and Vengeance, I feel like Vengeance would have been a better end personally. I don't know, just because like it kind of you know, Vengeance is like pretty hard and heavy, and then it just mellows out at the end and then kind of trails off. I feel like that would be a better end personally. I don't know, I don't really know what the song means, if I'm being honest. I don't know who the Black Metal Terrorist is. Maybe you can provide a little more insight on that for me.
Well, like the Black Metal Terrorist is kind of like a character that Denzel Curry kind of plays.
Okay.
He said that this album, or I believe it's been said, this album is the album of the Black Metal Terrorist.
Okay.
This is his album, even though he's not always in the Black Metal Terrorist sort of camp. Now I'm just gonna talk generally about this song real quick.
Sure.
This is the most satisfying song I get from Act 3.
Really?
Not necessarily my favorite. Like, I like Vengeance a lot.
Uh-huh.
But, like, terms of, like, the thematic continuity of what this act is supposed to be in accordance with the other acts, I feel like this song, is the exact sound that I feel like this act, and the exact sort of, like, the exact type of song I wanted on this act.
Okay.
That I just was kind of, like, I like Perks. I like Vengeance. I'm so on Blackest Balloon.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this song sounds like a continuation from Cloud Cobain. I feel like this could have been the first song on Act 3 to kind of introduce us to this, because this is like the sound I feel like kind of defines the continuation of where Cloud Cobain was going from. And why I'm saying that is that I talked about earlier how I feel like this album was made backwards,
right,
but kind of follows like a linear progression. Where I feel like, we start off kind of like optimistic, feeling like the world, like we're gonna get what we have a brighter future. Then we go into Gray, where we kind of talk about how things actually are. This is what the world is like. We talk about politics. We talk about the stuff like this is the business of music and how it can like dehumanize people, and how it puts like artists into these like situations where they can't trust like the people around them, where they have to be independent, where they're not likely to go out and get help because they don't know who is like honest help.
Mm-hmm.
So from that, I feel like Act 3 feels like a natural progression where like when people are like confronted with these very real problems, they often maybe overinflate those problems. They only see the dark. They only see the bad parts. The light part is still there, but people don't see it because the bad in the world is so bad that we are sometimes blinded to the light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like this feels like a natural conclusion for the album, about like somebody coming in, being really kind of optimistic, and then from the just various troubles in the world being turned into this insane, crazy person. This black metal terrorist. I love the chaotic beat on this. I love how it's always kind of just like morphing. I love the beginning of this song. Like, it kind of has this rocky feel, like the finish him Zell. That's the hook on the rest of the song, but the instrumental under like the beginning of it sounds like this rocky kind of instrumental, where like, like they're like finish him Zell, like they're kind of amping him up. He's kind of like this prize fighter, you know what I mean? And then when they had send him to hell, then it just devolves into this crazy madman's mind. And I think this perspective of the black metal terrorist, that's right. I feel like we get it maybe on like something like Vengeance, but like I feel like this is such a good introduction to it. Like I feel like this is a good way to introduce us to this kind of like mindset on Dark.
Mm-hmm.
I love his like kind of like this is like the staccato kind of like he's throwing himself around on his flows and whatnot. It feels like he's just kind of like he says words.
Does he though?
And I love I love how they tie it back to the first track with when he's like when they have the hook at the end where there's like finish himself, but then they have taboo. I love how they kind of start connecting it to like the first act and whatnot. This is also maybe the first song on this act where I feel like the lyricism is up to par with Act 2, Gray. And even Act 1. I think Act 1 has great lyrics. It's just the focus isn't really on the lyrics in Act 1.
Yeah.
You could say maybe the same with Here, but I feel like the lyricism is like up to par with Act 2. Like he's some great like kind of like the same poetry from Act 2, but with this darker, more kind of cold feel to it. Like laughing away until I do something serious, which we talked about when I talked about Cloud Cobain.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna live by my confidence. I'm gonna die by my arrogance. Heaven and hell is irrelevant. So this sounds like, like if the end of Cloud Cobain was the guy shooting himself. This sounds like, the guy who's like someone, that character who's like metaphorically killed himself. Like he feels like he's gone. He's lost his identity. The label has stripped it from him. And now he's become like, this monster, the black metal terrorist who's dropping bombs, Islamic. I love the energy. I love the chaotic energy Denzel brings on this track. I love the the kind of dark poetry he brings. I love the hook. This is what I want Act 3 to be. And I'm honestly kind of disappointed.
I feel like I'd be kind of disappointed if everything was kind of like this. I don't know. Like, I like his verses. I think they're solid. but like I'm not a huge fan of the hook. I don't know, it just feels kind of like empty, I guess.
Possibly.
I don't know, and the beat doesn't do like a whole lot for me. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. It's not the worst beat, but I don't know. Just the hook, I don't really like that much. I think that's my main issue with it.
Yeah. So
can't win them all.
Let's do a little run through over it.
Sure.
What do you think of this album?
So I listened to it for the first time today, but I listened to it like 5 times.
Yeah.
Because like I really wanted to get familiar with it.
Yeah.
But like after listening to it again, like as we're recording it and watching the music videos and stuff, like some of the songs I wouldn't necessarily wasn't a big fan of before. Mm-hmm. I've grown to get a new appreciation for them.
Yeah. And
just in general, like I'm able to see a lot of the songs in a different light, see it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
With like this context of and this kind of concept that he's trying to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, overall it was a good album, very solid. I liked it.
I really like this album, and I've always have. I think this album has an immaculate run on it. Song 1 to like song 9, I think this album has nothing but a stride. Sure, there might be like, a song that maybe disrupts the vibe here and there. Like I think Super Saiyan Superman could be maybe like thrown away. Not thrown away, but it doesn't need to be there. But the vibe's still good. The tracks are still pumping. The energy is still up. The lyrics are consistently just moving you emotionally, politically, bro. Whatever you want, however you want to engage with it. I think though that this album has kind of a disappointing ending for me. I used to love Act 3 Dark because I loved the energy, but once I kind of started getting into what Denzel Curry was kind of doing on the first 2 acts, I feel like he kind of doesn't really go anywhere. Like it feels like it's going, and I'm only saying that because it feels like it's going somewhere. Mm-hmm. There's so much good momentum with the Clout Cobain music video, and like that narrative he's spinning, that for it just to kind of drift out and not really have any like not conclusion, but any like real like progression in the last 4 songs. I just feel like the first 2 acts feel like they go together. The third act kind of feels like this was just like 3 different projects kind of lumped together. And I could maybe be okay if these are maybe like 3 mini albums like put together. You have some you have a light album, you have a gray album, you have a dark album, because then the dark album doesn't need to connect to the other 2. It doesn't. Like it could just be like these are some darker songs, these are some grayer songs, and these are some lighter songs. But the fact that it seems to be such a big tie between light and gray that is just making me like kind of upset that dark doesn't fall in line with them. And it's probably has something to do with the fact that he made it first, that he didn't really know where he was going. So when he kind of got a stride maybe in gray and like in light and whatnot, this is kind of like doesn't really fit. So overall, really like it. Can still enjoy all the songs by just aesthetic alone. Mm-hmm. But just a little disappointed thematically in the last act. But then again, I like every song on this album, no matter what. I like them all. I don't think there's a bad song. So let's rate it. Do you want to do yours first, Michael?
Sure. I don't know. I guess like as a whole, not necessarily taking into account songs that like I'm not gonna listen to all the time, but just overall as like an album as a whole thematically, I'd say I'd probably give it like a 7. Maybe a 7.5.
Okay. I'd give this like an 8. An 8. I was usually on a 9, the sort of grind. But, I told you, I'm a little volatile on some of these songs. Yeah. Tomorrow, Blackest Balloon could be my favorite thing ever. So, and maybe Super Saiyan Superman will grow on me. As maybe. Like an essential part of the album. I don't want to
You can't get rid of Super Saiyan.
Don't do it. It's a crime. But I think this is an 8. I think this is a strong showing from Denzel. and just shows why he's like one of my favorite artists in this lane. Well, with that being said, I think we're gonna conclude our chill session as we do every week.
Unfortunately, that time has to come.
We just gotta do it. So we'll be back next week with a new album. I'm Jacob.
I'm Michael.
And we were chilling in the library.